Guys, and welcome to this episode of the Bad Idea Bros. So in the last episode you would have seen us getting this old Perla running up and finally going as it should be. We figured that the only fair way to give it a test ride would be to have a couple of other Enfields with it. So today I'm on the Interceptor 650 and Josh has a seat on the Himalayan. So nice mix of bikes today, but all Royal Enfields. And the plan is basically just to go from here in Christchurch out to the beach, up through the hills and pop back into the city. So just a nice short run. Doesn't have to be anything too crazy today because it is the maiden voyage of the old 50 Enfield. But I'll flick this camera around and give you guys a look at the bikes we're on. Today's going to be a good day. Alright guys, so we've got Warren's 350, the 1950 model. You guys will be very familiar with this one. You've seen us do the rebuild. And I have to say it's probably one of the cleanest vintage Enfields in the city. Today, as mentioned, I am on the Interceptor 650, which is absolutely gorgeous. Very torquey bike, a lot of fun. And we've got Josh on the Himalayan, which is arguably probably Enfield's most popular bike. So, a little bit of different stuff today, but all in the same vein. So we're going to saddle up, guys, and get into this thing.
Hey guys, there's a little bit of difference with the vintage bikes to what you're probably used to on your modern bikes. A couple of these things, well the two main things I'll show you right now. On these bikes, because they didn't have a choke, they had a prime. The little wee button in the back there, you give that a couple of pushes and it gives you instant fuel into the carb. The second thing is the advanced retard. This is just purely the spark being moved forward as the bike has a 40-degree advance. You don't want that on your first kick, so it brings it right to the top. And then once it's running, you take it back out. So let's start her up. And so that is how it starts a vintage bike.
Let's go. Guys, we've got a little bit of clean air. I can talk a little bit about this bike in particular. It's a 1950 Royal Enfield 350G. It was a barn find many years ago that went to a museum, and at some point the museum decided to let it go again, and it came back on the market last year, and I picked it up early 2021. The age and ability of the bike is far below what I'm used to as what we have nowadays and what I've got in the shed. But it's so much enjoyable just purely for what it is. I mean, you might see in the video that the bike does shake and bounce a lot. It is a rigid, there is no rear end suspension. The front forks are a very primitive spring suspension, very early shock inside the forks sort of thing. The bike itself is surprisingly comfortable because there are 4 huge springs under my butt in the seat, and that makes the ride actually quite smooth to my arse anyway, and not so bad for my upper body. I can feel the vibration of the road through the handlebars a bit and definitely through the foot head, so that gives me a feel for the road that's under me. So yeah, in comparison to today's bikes, slow, awkward, a little bit rough, but for sheer joy, this thing's just so fun. I'm really enjoying being on this. So yeah, we're basically en route to the beach, which is not a bad place to start on a ride for a day like today. And we will head up Evans Pass, which is a nice twisty bit of a mountain road, but nothing too crazy. And from there, that'll take us to Littleton, which you guys would have seen in previous episodes. And then back into the hills for the return to the city. Sorry guys, distracted by the sound of that old 350.
It's intoxicating, and the smell is even more so.
Riding the latest Interceptor, a beautiful looking bike. I'm so pleased that they're still making these motorbikes and advancing them to keep up with technology as well as keeping the beautiful lines, and the Interceptor is one of those beautiful looking bikes. I'll have to talk to him later, find out what he thought of it as a ride in general. And Joshua is on the Himalayan, test riding that and having a look. It's quite a different sort of a bike to him. He's normally on sports bikes, and this is an adventure bike. It's a little bit taller, maybe a little bit top heavy, but we'll have to talk to him later and see what he thinks of this particular model and how it compares to what he rides, and would he buy one. History about the bike. This bike, I've had the engine number and chassis number and gearbox number checked out all the way back to Redditch, which is the original factory. Now there's a guy there who used to work at the factory, and he's kept all the records of all the numbers. and he has officially told me that this bike is still in original factory condition. Engine, gearbox, chassis, all the correct numbers that came out of the factory in March of 1950. It was shipped direct from Redditch in England to the Wellington, New Zealand office of the Royal Enfield company, and was sold there to a man who took it to Nelson as best as I could work out. But it definitely left Redditch in March, bound for Wellington, New Zealand, and I found it in Nelson.
So how are you finding the Himalayan, man? It's not your normal sort of bike.
It's not my normal, but it's still a great bike. You know I could have a lot of fun on it. It holds its line. It's nice standing up on it, which I don't get on the CG or anything like that, because that's quite low.
Yeah.
But no, I'm genuinely liking the bike.
I've got to be honest, man, that Interceptor is a bucket of laughs. It's just got torque for days. It pulls like a tractor, and it's just really nice to ride. Should we swap bikes for a bit?
I think we should. I would like to try the Interceptor.
Yeah, definitely, man. I've actually had, and most of you guys watching won't know this, but I did have a Himalayan for a while, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't off-road suitable enough, which is why I ended up with the CRF. But as a dual-purpose bike for like 80% road and then the gravel from there, it's probably the perfect bike at the moment.
Absolutely would be, especially with those tyres on. They're not too aggressive. You don't get that rumble on the road as you're going along.
Yeah, exactly. And the old girl's obviously performing well.
I'm very pleased with her at this point. I'm just keeping a close eye. She's just had a recent refurb, but she seems powerful as and happy as. So yeah, having a great time with her today.
We must have done all the nuts and bolts right then.
Well, there was nothing left over and it still runs. I think we were pretty good.
Perfect. All right, guys, we're going to saddle back up. Josh and I are going to swap bikes for a little bit, and then we're going to head back into the city, through the tunnel, I suppose, guys?
Yeah, we'll go through the tunnel.
Perfect, let's do this. All right, guys, so on the Himalayan today, you can see that it's got the retro style gauge cluster, and very cool, it does have a compass. Being on the Himalayan's like being on an old friend. I did enjoy the time that I had on the one that I was riding, and super ergonomic, very clickable for what they are. They do pull quite nicely. Josh is looking very much at home on that Interceptor. Well, here we are, guys. We've just descended the hill into Littleton. Got the market on ahead of us. Down to the ports. From here it'll be the tunnel and back into Christchurch City itself. Alright guys, we're going through the tunnel now, so I'll have to shut the helmet as to prevent myself from CO2 poisoning. It looks like we've picked up another Enfield. Alright guys, you're not going to believe this, but that is actually Billy. Will on his Enfield. guys, I have to admit it was an utter privilege to be able to ride this Interceptor today. It is a gorgeous bike. It feels so good on the road, plenty of torque. It's just an all-around nice bike. I don't currently have a road bike, and this thing has gotten under my skin a little bit, so who knows, might see one down the track in the future. I have a huge soft spot for Royal Enfields, and Royal Enfield, if you're watching, feel free to get in touch. Dreams are free, right? But no, this is a stunning bike, a genuinely stunning bike, and I am very privileged to ride this today.
Alright guys, that was so much fun. The old 50 Enfield did everything it needed to. Warren, any thoughts?
No, I'm just going to tinker along with it again, have more fun in the sun.
It's all that bike's for, so it's a classic, we can't really thrash it too much, but today it ran like a champion. Thankfully we caught Will up at the roundabout, as you would have seen on the way to the tunnel, and Josh, the Himalayan, not your normal ride, but...
Not the standard, but I do like it.
Yeah.
I do like it.
Will we see you on one in the future?
Probably not. The CG does everything that the Himalayan can.
That was exactly the answer I expected. And look guys, we've had an absolute blast today. As you heard me probably constantly waxing lyrical about that Interceptor, there's a high chance there might be one ending up in my driveway soon. But we thank you as always for joining us on this one, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.